Howdy y'all, Rowan here, with my first tag video. This is the new booktuber tag, Booktube Newbie Tag, this is a new undertaking for me. I've been doing it just for a few days. Figured it applied to me, so I would do it. Why not? So question number one is, why did you start this channel? Well, I'm currently living a life that is pretty dull. I don't have a job at the moment, so I'm always looking for things to do to fill time. And I thought that this would be a fun way for me to kill time and maybe become part of a community that I admire, and maybe inspire some people to read more. So that's sort of my reasoning behind it. My reasons are mostly selfish, I have to admit. Question 2: what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to BookTube? I guess that I don't see a ton of people who are interested in the same books that I am. The overwhelming majority of people on BookTube are reading popular and young adult fiction, which is fine. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I dabble in it occasionally. And then also there's lots of people reading classics, which is great, but I've never been a huge fan of the classics personally. I firmly have loved and lived in the worlds of 20th and 21st century literature, for the most part, with some exceptions, but largely 20th and 21st century. So I guess I just find that there's not a lot of voice given to the types of books that I like. There are certainly people who have similar tastes to me that are on BookTube and are great. People like Chris Villa at Leaf by Leaf, people like Mark Nash, people like Cliff Sargent at Books Are Better Than Food. But I guess that I'm operating within a niche in terms of my taste, so that is sort of my uniqueness that I can bring to BookTube. Question 3: what are you most excited about for this new channel? I'm excited for people to give me feedback, to recommend books to me, to tell me whether what I'm saying is worthwhile. I am mostly doing this just for myself, but I would love to be able to interact with people and sort of be part of the community, part of a community that revolves around literature and reading. Because I haven't really had that in my life since I was in college. I was a English with an emphasis on creative writing major in college, but I finished college 6 years ago and haven't really had like a literary, not to say that my friends don't read books, but most of the ones that do, I have very differing tastes from, and so I'm interested in having a community that I can be a part of that reinforces literacy and reading things that I like and things like that. Question 4: why do you love reading? What a question. Reading makes me, all great art sort of transcends you. It transports you to another sort of plane of consciousness that helps you forget yourself and you live within the world. At least story-based art, I think. Paintings, maybe not so much, but to a degree. Um, and I think that we learn about ourselves through stories. Our lives, the way that we sort of frame our own existence is through story. And so the greatest way to learn is through story. Um, that's why I am drawn to fiction. I primarily read fiction. I do read poetry, though not nearly as much. I rarely read nonfiction. So I guess to answer the question, why do I love reading, is that it is how, more than any other thing in my life, it is how I grow. It is how I find out truths about myself and about the world, is through reading. So I think it makes me a better person, and yeah, that's why I've found that in the times in my life when I'm most depressed and unable to sort of be myself is also when I read the least. There's some sort of correlation there. Not to say that like reading makes me happy in that way, but that when I am reading is when I feel the most alive. So that's why I love reading. What book or series got you into reading? So I loved reading as a kid. Anybody who knew me back then can attest that I was a fiend for books as a child. And I read all of the usual suspects, of children's literature that is canonical, and it was popular in the 90s. So that's, of course I was raised by a Tolkien head, so I grew up with The Hobbit. You got Goosebumps, you got Animorphs, you got a series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket, you got obviously Harry Potter. These were all things that I read and loved. The first thing that I ever read that really made me be like, oh, books are like a powerful thing, more than just sort of something I did for fun, was when I started reading Stephen King, and I read It when I was 10, which is too young to be reading that book, but I was a habitual thrift store shopper with my parents, and so I started becoming more interested in reading adult books, and I was interested in scary stuff, and so, you find Stephen King, you see him everywhere in thrift stores, and I read Carrie first. I can't remember if it came right after that or not, but I know I read it in 5th grade. My mom likes to tell the story when I read Carrie that I got a note back on my book report that this is not 5th grade friendly reading material, and my mom went in and had words with my teacher that if Rowan wants to read adult books, we shouldn't put a cap on his desire to expand his intelligent horizons or something like that. So yeah, I guess it would be It, as far as the book that got me into reading seriously. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? God, I feel like I come up short here because my favorite booktubers that I've found so far have done a great job of answering the questions I would have for them. The obvious ones are like, what are your favorite books? Why are they your favorite books? I guess, like, the thing that I'm always most interested in is, like, what are the books that, like, you saw yourself in? Like there are books that are great books, that I recognize as a great book and count among my favorites. Like recently I read J.R. by William Gaddis, and that's a great example. But it's not a book that I saw myself in. It's not a book that I felt close to on a personal level. I'm always more interested in books like that. Books that I'm going to sort of have be a mirror to myself, because those are the books that I find I learn the most from in a sort of existential way. Books for me like Infinite Jest, which is a book so much about the overwhelming sadness of living in modern society, which is something that I connected with deeply, and books like The Instructions that are about like growing up. I am a sucker for a good coming of age story, but I often find that the genre of coming of age is largely geared towards teens, and I find most teen books to ultimately be somewhat vapid. But so something like The Instructions by Adam Levin is a great counterexample to that. I don't even remember what the question I was answering was. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Yeah, just what books spoke to you, like sang harmonies with your soul. Those are the ones that I'm interested in. Question 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Longevity, probably. I have a tendency to work manically and then burn out. So it will require me to keep up with reading in a regular way, which throughout my life I've gone through ebbs and flows of reading. 2020 was like a definite ebb. I read 3 books in 2020. I've read like 25, I think, so far in 2021. I will say that I've read a lot of short books this year, so that's helped put those numbers up. But yeah, so I guess consistency and dedication to both reading and to talking about books will be the biggest hurdles that I'll have to overcome if I want to keep this channel going. Question 8. When did you start reading? I don't even remember. So that long ago. It's something that's always been with me. I was read to when I was young. I have vivid memories of being like in kindergarten, first grade, and having my mom read Goosebumps books to me every night before bed, and then not being able to sleep because I was scared. Reading The Hobbit in bed with my dad together, and yeah, it's just always been there. It's always been something that's been a part of my life since I was very young. So, where do you read? Currently, I do most of my reading outside. I am living at my parents' house currently, and they have a beautiful backyard garden with a patio, and we have like a tent over the patio to shade you in the hot summer days. And so I can sit out there and not worry about getting sunburned and smell the flowers, and it's very peaceful back there, so long as the neighbor's dog is not crying. When I'm not out there, I read in bed largely. I don't have like a dedicated like reading chair or anything like that, like some people have. I never have had that. Throughout my life, I've read wherever I needed to. I can't read on buses or in cars. It makes me sick. But, I have no problem reading in public, reading at coffee shops. Some of my strongest memories with books are about like reading at coffee shops. Like 2666 by Bolaño. I have 2 very vivid memories of reading that book. One being at Plan B, the coffee shop in Uptown, Minneapolis that no longer exists. And the other being reading it at work when I was working for the Crocs company, and I was able to read for a brief time. I had a boss there who didn't care if you read books while you were working, and so I remember having the drawer in front of the register pulled out, and the book sat down inside of it, and reading it there. Question 10. What kinds of books do you like to read? I like to read literary fiction, experimental fiction, science fiction. I'm a sucker for weird and interesting ideas. And I'm a sucker for great use of language. So of course I'm drawn to people who do. It's no surprise, I guess, in saying that Infinite Jest would be my favorite book, because it's got all these crazy ideas happening in it, and a plot that is so unsummarizable, and yeah, those are the things that I like the most. I do like some just sort of standard science fiction that just has, interesting ideas, and I'm willing to sort of forgive a lack of originality and inspiration in prose often for good ideas, so long as the prose is like workable. Sometimes it can be bad, and then it's not enjoyable even if you've got good ideas. And finally, what does your book collection look like? Currently it's a hot mess. As I said, I'm living with my parents. I don't have dedicated bookshelves at the moment. So I have all of the books that I own that I haven't read all assembled in piles, currently displayed in my bedroom, so that I can access them. And then all of the books that I own that I have read are put away in boxes and inaccessible. So it looks like a total mess. There's no organization whatsoever. They are not organized in any way, shape, or form. Normally, I like to keep them alphabetized by author and then divided into sections. I had been keeping the books I've read and books I haven't read separated since before this living situation, which I find to be useful, because then you can kind of go, and when it's time to pick a new book, you just have all of the ones you haven't read in one place. You can peruse them and pick one, which is fun. It does sort of detract from the ability to show off your shelf and be like, look at all these great books I've read, when you've got them kind of. I had like them all sort of stuffed into one small spot that didn't display them prominently, the ones that I'd read already. So yeah, it's doesn't look great. Yeah, so that was the Booktube Newbie Tag. Thanks for watching. Check out some of my other videos. Subscribe if you want. I'm going to be trying to put out videos regularly. I've been putting out more than one a day so far. I don't foresee staying with that ferocity and speed, but I hope to continue to do it regularly and talk about books as I read. I've got plans to talk about once a week what I'm reading, and also when books particularly strike me, I want to talk about them in individual videos. And then I'm also open to doing these tag videos. They're fun, and yeah. Thanks for watching. I'm Rowan Smith. Yeah, take it easy.